It's been 3 months since Oregon Governor Tina Kotek gathered dozens of leaders together for a task force on downtown Portland. Now there's a list of recommendations to revitalize that area. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm China Green. Today's recommendations came out as part of the Oregon Business Summit at the Moda Center. That's where we find Blair Best. Blair, what more can you tell us?
China, you may remember that in late summer, the governor created a task force of Portland leaders to come up with ways to revitalize downtown. Now, they met more than 20 times, but each one of those meetings was held behind closed doors. So today, for the first time, and in front of hundreds of people in the business community, we're hearing what the ideas are that they came up with. Inside the Moda Center, performance met with talks of a bright new future for Oregon took center stage.
And as Portland goes, the state goes. And I think leaders from around the state understood that.
During this year's Oregon Business Plans Leadership Summit.
It's great to see such a great crowd here. Thank you for coming.
Governor Tina Kotek was among the speakers.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm your governor, Tina Kotek, in case you didn't get that note.
Sharing an announcement long awaited by many, seeing as seating ran out for this portion of the day.
Let's talk about Portland, and let's talk about progress. Because I think we're having a moment. Times of crisis can lead to a desire for drastic change.
About 4 months ago, Governor Kotek formed the Central City Task Force.
Well, I'm like you. I raise an eyebrow at the idea of another task force being part of any real solution.
And called on 50 local leaders to find ways to revitalize downtown Portland.
We came up with 10 concrete action items focused on the next 6 months.
Many focused on addressing the deadly crisis gripping Portland streets, including declaring a 90-day fentanyl emergency, a statewide ban on the public use of controlled substances, and making it easier for law enforcement to prosecute drug dealers.
Without an emergency order, you have to go through your regular processes. This creates an urgency.
Look, we all want the same thing. We want this city and this state to recover, and the only way we can do it successfully is through collaboration.
Among the recommendations, investing $20 million in graffiti removal and taking down plywood covering store windows, plus a 3-year pause on new taxes and fees.
We have come this far, and we're beginning to see what's on the other side of our challenges.
Yet much of this depends on support from the legislature, something Senator Ron Wyden echoed early in the day.
Every level of government has got to say, we're going to think big, we're going to come out swinging and get some things done.
We will be acting in February.
Yes, thank you.
Now, among these recommendations are things that we've heard talked of many times before, like expanding shelter space and increasing police presence downtown. But again, we want to stress these are all just recommendations at this point. But as you just heard there, the state tells us they are planning to act on some of these during next year's legislative session. And the governor tells us she plans to meet with the county chair and the mayor next week to talk about the next steps. China?
Blair, thank you. In your headlines now, a 19-year-old driver faces manslaughter, reckless driving, and DUI charges after his younger brother died in a rollover crash. Jesse Granados Villegas appeared before a judge for the first time Monday afternoon. Washington County deputies say he took a curve too fast on Southwest River Road, and the car rolled over and crashed through a fence. Annie Granados, a 7th grader at Tualatin Middle School, died at the scene. Brittany Granados, a 10th grader at Tualatin High, has serious injuries.
I can't even imagine what that family is going through, having 3 siblings involved in this crash at that time, and then one of them being fatal. That's awful.
Thank you.
The 19-year-old driver remains behind bars, awaiting his next hearing next week. Students in several school districts were released early today because of threats against their school. Threats came in at the Cascade School District in Marion County, the Colton School District, and the Corbett School District, and the Central Lynn School District in Lynn County. Each case, nothing was found and no one was hurt. Mount Hood Meadows has now suspended operations again. They made the decision to shut down just a day after opening for the season. They say the rain and warm weather this weekend just aren't conducive to skiing, and they're hoping for better conditions later this week. Close to 2,000 people hit the slopes this weekend for opening day for the short-lived opening. Meadows says that they'll reevaluate on Wednesday. Matt?
Thanks so much, China. Yeah, it's going to be a dry week too ahead. We are looking for snow, but again, what we're finding are dry days ahead, and we will keep looking for the mountain snow. There's a little bit of hope in the long-range forecast, but look at the rainfall we've already had this month, nearly 7 inches, okay? That makes it our wettest month since last December, and only the 2 previous Decembers, going back 2 years, have been wetter than this December. So it's been an incredibly wet start to the month. Things are drying out now as we go through the rest of the week, and we made the 50s today too, which again is well above average for this time of the year. We've got low clouds right now. They may produce a little bit of drizzle, nothing big as far as rainfall goes. East winds pick up tomorrow. That's going to help to brush these low clouds out, clear things up. And we actually have a long dry spell coming our way as high pressure is building over the northwest. Now, as far as mountain snow goes, we're looking past the weekend and into next week for our next really good chance of getting meaningful snow on the mountain. More on that a little bit later on. China, back to you.
All right, Matt, thank you. A shakeup at the top for Portland Public Schools. Guadalupe Guerrero is stepping down as a superintendent after 7 school years. Guerrero was the first Latino to lead the district, and he will leave the post in February. From the pandemic to the historic teacher strike, it's been a challenging few years leading the largest school district in the state. Evan Watson has the details.
Portland Public Schools Superintendent Guadalupe Guerrero is stepping down as leader of Oregon's largest school district. Guerrero started in August of 2017. School board member Julia Brim-Edwards, who helped appoint Guerrero to the position, says she's grateful for his work.
I will say that Guadalupe has really set a nice foundation, brought in some strong leaders. We're in a good position. We've passed a local option for our teachers. We've passed a bond to rebuild our schools, sort of fix the lead in the water crisis that was also happening when he came. We've got a strong board. So I think we're in a really good position.
In his resignation letter to the board, Guerrero said, "I believe the conditions suggest it is time for a transition in leadership." He did not directly mention the recent Portland teachers strike, which lasted for most of November. It was the longest teacher strike in Oregon history.
The resolution passed.
Brim-Edwards says she's grateful Guerrero is leaving after the strike was resolved.
He played a key role in helping us settle that contract.
The Portland Association of Teachers Union shared a statement about Guerrero's resignation, saying PAT recognizes the hard work done by Superintendent Guerrero this past month to reach a settlement with our union. Our sincere hope is that he takes the lessons he has learned from our educators, fellow union, families, communities, and city to wherever he lands next. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. In his resignation letter, Guerrero cited accomplishments, including a 5% increase in graduation rates from 2017 to 2022. He also pointed to the district's equity staffing formula, doubling of career and technical education offerings, and the improved school buildings, including Grant, McDaniel, and Lincoln High School. Governor Kotek reacted to the news at the Oregon Business Summit Monday.
Honestly, I was surprised. I was not anticipating that. For him to be there 6.5 years to create some stability and some structure for change, I think has been really important.
Brim-Edwards says Guerrero's resignation is a very personal decision for him and that the board did not direct him into this move. The board will now look for a new district leader.
I mean, I will want somebody who has a demonstrated track record of success, of improving student achievement, and has the ability to lead Portland to the next level.
This decision comes exactly 2 weeks after the Portland teacher strike ended. Guerrero's last day will be February 16th. The school board says it will meet in the coming days to identify an interim leader for the district and start searching for a new superintendent. China.
Evan, thank you. So this month, 50 years ago, President Richard Nixon signed one of the country's landmark environmental laws, the Endangered Species Act. And this week on The Story, environmental reporter Carol Williams will be looking at endangered species in the Northwest. Today is all about the spotted owl. In the 1980s, it became a political flashpoint. Environmentalists wanted to save the old growth forest the owl needs to survive, but timber workers saw the species as a threat to their livelihoods. Kayla spoke with a wildlife biologist who consults for timber companies. She remembers being a little girl, scared her dad would lose his job.
I used to ride my bike to the store, a little corner store with my best friend, and we would sit outside with our little Jolly Rancher candies, and we would talk about it. It was what was being talked about around the dinner table. My dad was in forestry, her dad drove a log truck, and I was so scared that my dad would lose his job. You know, he was the breadwinner for our family.
The spotted owl was listed as endangered in 1990, and it did have a big impact on the timber industry, but the story didn't end there. Since then, a new threat has emerged that continues to push the spotted owl towards extinction. We'll dive into that story tonight at 6:30 on The Story as part of our week-long series exploring the current state of the Endangered Species Act.